Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Falcione. I'm the editor of Hopkinton News, online only at hopnews.com. We are here with our regularly scheduled Friday evening program with guest Stephen Benford, who is the director, and how else would you describe your position?
Co-founder. My wife and I founded the foundation.
For the Keep Smiling for Abby Foundation. And it was instigated at its genesis was in a tragic accident, and now the family is determined to save lives and to help create technology that will save lives. And Stephen can take over. Thank you for being here.
Okay, well, thank you, Robert. Thank you for having me here.
You're
Good
welcome.
to be here. So my wife and I and my family started the Keep Smiling for Abby Foundation in January of 2014, about a month after my daughter Abby died from an allergic reaction to food. She had a reaction in our home here in Hopkinton. She received what was described as a textbook emergency response. The Hopkinton Fire Department responded to our home in 6 minutes. Abby had a lifelong history of food allergies that were anaphylactic risk. She got a hold of something that didn't agree with her and triggered an anaphylactic reaction. Anaphylaxis is an allergic reaction triggered by an allergen. There's food allergies that trigger anaphylaxis, latex, insect stings, and medicine. So sometimes people are allergic to medicine. They can trigger an allergic reaction, and if not treated early, if not detected early, the reaction can lead to a tragic outcome like my daughter's, where you can die from this. Abby was treated at Boston Children's Hospital and unfortunately passed away from her injuries from the anaphylactic reaction. Well, what happens in anaphylaxis is your body starts attacking itself. And in Abby's case, it was a classic reaction of cascading symptoms that led to respiratory distress and then cardiac failure, and that led to severe injuries that caused her to pass away. About a month later, my family and I started the Keep Smiling for Abby Foundation. We had a tremendous amount of support from the community here in Hopkinton, just an outpouring of support to do something. My family wanted to do something positive, something that would move the needle in helping people, so we formed the foundation. Our primary mission is to fund research into early detection of anaphylaxis, early detection and treatment. We've raised a couple $100,000 over the few years we've been in business. We fund research at Harvard University. There's a research lab called the Vieth Institute that's funding Project Abby. And Project Abby, which I hope we can talk a little bit more about, hopefully will provide an early detection protocol that alerts the patients that they're having an allergic reaction.
Now, you did mention a list of allergens and causes, or they could be things that could be causes of an anaphylactic shock, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
Anything else that might do that? We had someone in my family, and I think I told you once, who just became covered with hives and swelling from the time he left his home till the time they got to the hospital, about 2,000 feet away. Mm-hmm. And I think he might have had prednisone that brought him back, and you could see the swelling go down as the blood moved. But we don't know what did it.
Sure.
Don't know what caused it.
Yeah, well, I'm not a medical person. I'm a finance guy. I'm a regular guy. The triggers are food, insect stings, medicine, or latex, typically of anaphylaxis.
Okay. How about pets? Any kind of pets?
Those are environmental allergies type things that I guess could cause some allergic response. I don't know if that could cause anaphylaxis. I try to stick to the big four that I'm certain about. There's really only one treatment for anaphylaxis. The only treatment for anaphylaxis is quick action with epinephrine. So the viewers might recognize an EpiPen as a treatment device. So the only treatment is to apply the EpiPen to the outer thigh and inject the patient with epinephrine. It's quick reacting, it's a stable drug, but the problem is the detection phase. In our view, the detection phase for anaphylaxis is a treatment gap. There are 17 plus symptoms that happen in the body with anaphylaxis. There's swelling, but there's also skin temperature and tone will change, heart rate will change, indigestion, blood pressure will drop. All these are physical symptoms that can be measured, and if you don't detect these things early enough, you can have a tragic outcome.
And what specifically, well, can you compare it to something else in medicine where they can, with technology, detect an oncoming trauma?
The best example I think in our world is diabetes. So diabetes is a real time problem. As blood sugar fluctuates, diabetics could end up in a diabetic shock and be in a very serious medical problem. And so we think about our problem as very similar to the treatment for diabetics who very often, in some cases, have a pump on their body that's monitoring through a lead into their body, that's monitoring blood sugar. And as blood chemistry changes, the pump will pump in the appropriate dose of medicine to stabilize the blood chemistry. In our case, we think that there's a technology solution out there that can monitor the body systems of the 15 million people that are at risk from anaphylaxis. That's a startling number. There are 5 million Alzheimer's patients in this country. There are 30,000 Lou Gehrig's disease patients, but 15 million have anaphylaxis risk. And another great example in terms of compared to medical problems, most medical problems are solved with early detection. In anaphylaxis, you have minutes to figure out what's happening and react. In cancer, very serious problem, but if you're diagnosed with cancer, you have some choice and time to evaluate your treatment options. Right. In anaphylaxis, you literally have minutes to correlate conflicting variables. And there's also a psychological response that is very real where people are in denial. When these reactions happen, you're at a family party, you're at a company event, you're in a social environment, and you really don't want to cause a lot of turmoil. You don't want to cause any upset. You don't want to cry wolf. You don't want to cause people to be upset in a happy and social environment. You don't want a fire department come bombing in. So you sort of play it down a little bit. And that's the worst thing you can do in an anaphylactic reaction. The typical response is to sort of delay. If you delay too long, these symptoms can get very, very serious.
And so, in Abby's case, was it that kind of situation, or was it just that it was unnoticed in the early stages?
Well, Abby had a history of asthma, and with many of these 15 million people that are at risk, asthma is a bit of a mask because with Abby's symptoms, we began treating an asthma attack. She was wheezing. She had some asthma problems. We didn't recognize the early symptoms, so to some extent, the early detection phase, we missed it. We missed our window. When we treated her, we did treat her with 2 EpiPens. But the problem is we didn't recognize it soon enough. So we were back here and the reaction was way out in front of us, and we didn't detect early. So that sort of leads us to, that catalyst event leads us to, how can we solve this problem sooner? So we're working with, like I said earlier, we're working with a lab at Harvard on a research project called Project Abby to create a device that would be applied to the person that's at risk and monitor these systems: skin temperature and tone, respiratory performance, cardiac performance, blood chemistry. And as these things start changing and as all these things start happening together, the device would say, siren goes off, you have an anaphylactic reaction, take your epinephrine. There's a concept out there where alerting the patient is good enough to just tell them to treat. So this is a real project. We're very excited about it. We've funded over $100,000 in this project from the generous donations from our donor base, active fundraising events that we've done here in Hopkinton.
And you have some runners, don't you?
Right. We have 4 runners in the Boston Marathon this year. We began 2 cycles ago. I guess this will be our 3rd year with a runner. The first year we had a Hopkinton High School graduate, Samantha Lee, running for us. The second year we had 2 runners. Samantha was one of the runners again last year. This year we've secured 3 bibs from the town of Hopkinton, great support from the selectmen and the fire department to get 3 bibs. And we've also gotten a 4th bib. We had Amy Cole from the Hopkinton Runners Club approach us and volunteer to run for us. She's heard about our cause, and she's got a qualified bib, and she's going to run for us. We have Tyler Mahoney from Holliston. She's a friend of Abby's. She's running on the fire department bib. Her mom's a firefighter from Maynard. We have James Cassidy, who runs Hopkinton PT here in town. He's running for us. Amy Cole, and the 3rd bib from the town award is for a gentleman from Milan, Italy, named Corrado Pomodoro. Corrado is a business associate of one of the foundation's trustees.
I think I went to school with him.
Is that right?
Yeah. What's the matter, you?
Okay, right. That was him, right.
So so that's about, was it 5,000 each bib now?
We don't put a fundraising. We're still kind of small, Robert. We don't have the juice of a Dana-Farber or MGH, but the bigger organizations put a goal on them. All of our runners have taken a goal. we're very hopeful they can have very successful fundraising.
Good. The selectmen, when they give them out, they have a figure. It's
Yeah.
either 4,000 or 5,000. I can't remember what it's gone to.
They have expectations, and we'll beat those expectations. Samantha Lee raised $7,000 last year. Our two
Wow.
bibs 2 years ago, and our two bibs last year averaged over almost $7,000. So I'm confident we'll beat that.
Now, this device that you want to invent, more or less, what's the progress rate now? Did you say there are 17 different variables?
Yeah, that's right.
Symptoms are. How far are you in that? Do you have like 5 figured out or 10?
Well, we know what to measure.
Mm-hmm.
They're focusing on histamine levels in blood chemistry. So histamine is released in every cell when you're having anaphylaxis.
Wow.
They're also looking at respiratory performance as an early marker for anaphylaxis. As respiratory performance starts to degrade, that might be something they can monitor. But skin temperature and tone changes. So they'll look at skin temperature and tone, and respiratory and blood chemistry, and look to correlate those things. In terms of progress, we announced the project a year ago, December, so about 13 months ago. The project was announced in a press release. They've got 8 engineers working full-time at the Wyss Institute. We had a project update in November, very exciting progress. They started to isolate things like histamine and other factors, and they're making progress. There's still several years of research to go, everything from form factor, how do you deploy this thing, to what should we actually measure. But they're making great progress, and we're very excited about it.
Oh, good. And now, is there any other? So you've got these 17 variables, these 17 factors that you have to measure. And now, is there any other? I know you talk about the diabetes, but is there anything that would have some of the same things and throw you off early on?
I leave that to the scientists, Robert.
Okay.
I leave that to the engineers and scientists who are starting the project.
I
guess as a lay person, I'd probably say, yeah, probably, but that's for the engineers to figure out. We're just driving the philanthropy at this point.
And where do you think, you said several years out, do you have earmarks of goals? This year we want to get another 100,000, next year.
Sure. The project team has certainly technological goals. From our side of things, we're very proud to have funded $100,000, and that to me qualifies as effectively a bench scientist time for a year. We'd love to get that number up 100K a year, but we're a very modest, locally operated nonprofit. We've raised, like I said, about just under $300,000 in the few years we've been running. So certainly we have goals every year to raise money. 90% of our proceeds will go to the Project Abby. We're an all-volunteer nonprofit based here in Hopkinton, so any money we raise goes effectively right to Project Abby. We do fund 2 scholarships here in Hopkinton.
Right.
We created 2 scholarships in Abby's memory. The Keep Smiling Award was created by the high school for graduating seniors, and we've funded almost $10,000 in 3 years. Last year we raised that to 2 scholarships worth $2,100 each.
How do they qualify?
Well,
is it sports?
It's not sports. No, it's a staff. It's a faculty nominated award. So this is we tried to create this sort of from the school community's perspective. We listed a bunch of traits that Abby brought to Hopkinton High School. We went to the school, and Evan Bishop and the staff have been very supportive of going out to the team. So at the end of every school year, the faculty thinks about these character traits. A positive environment, good friend, big smile from Abby. All these sort of traits that Abby brought to the school. They think about the graduating class and who brings those traits to that class, and they nominate a male and a female student, and we make an award.
And you have some other fundraisers coming up.
We have for the local audience, we've got the Boston Marathon. Certainly is a big one. You can go to our website and get some information on that.
And what is the website?
KeepSmilingForAbby.org. Keep smiling, no G, 4, Abby.org. We have a field hockey event. Abby was a field hockey player here in Hopkinton. We do a field hockey alumni tournament every year, where we bring the alumni from the program back, and they play a spirited game against the varsity team. We showcase a game right before that in an exhibition with community leaders and parents of the program. And that's a fun game where we get the parents and community leaders like the fire chief and some of the school board members, selectmen, and they take an oversized ball and they play field hockey in an abbreviated game. And we raise money there. It's at the Hopkinton High School in August. I believe it's August 5th. It's the first Saturday in August.
Jot that down.
Yeah, mark your calendars. It's a great event. We've had a few hundred people there the last few years. It's a lot of fun.
Anything after that's August?
That'll be in August. Yeah.
Anything the rest of the year?
That'll be it for the rest of the year. Yeah.
Okay. Saving lives. That's what you're going to do.
That's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Project Abby's legacy will be to save lives. This thing will alert the patient and save lives.
There's got to be some education with the device too, because as you say, people are in denial at first.
Yeah.
And you don't know where this is leading because you've only got heavy breathing or the case of asthmatic reaction, you think. And
so there's a healthy amount of ambiguity in the assessment phase. So you're not sure what's happening. You don't feel right. One of the symptoms is actually an impending feeling of doom. You can't really measure that with a device, but as you think about you're not feeling right, is this or isn't it? Is this a reaction or not? Am I going to be okay? If you had something on your body that could remove the ambiguity, that would clear the hurdle of treatment and get to the treatment phase really quickly. We think that there's an application for the people that are at risk. We think there's an application in every fire department. As a first responder comes on a scene and you're having a reaction, they have to do an assessment. And if they think you're at risk, or if you tell them you're at risk, they can put this device on your chest or on your where exposed skin and get a sense for what's happening in your body.
Quickly.
Well, they think it can.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
But they already, as it is, they carry epinephrine with them.
In the emergency trucks, sure.
Yeah. And
but remember, the epinephrine is a device it's just a pen. I'm looking in your office here for a pen in your studio, but it's a device that's very effective and very stable, but it doesn't detect anything. You have to decide. The patient has to decide it's time for me to take this pen and stick themselves in the leg.
Can you go through the clothing?
Yeah, the application of epinephrine is right through the clothing. So the epinephrine needle the EpiPen needle is strong enough to go right into your leg.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what is it actually? What is the dose made of inside that pen?
Epinephrine pen is a liquid dose of epinephrine. It's a synthetic adrenaline.
Wow. So that's wow, and that the body actually fights itself is just such a terrible thing.
The problem is compounding too. What we've seen in the last the Food Allergy Research Network has put statistics out there that the incidence of food allergies and anaphylactic risk doubled between 1997 and 2003, and there's no known reason why. So this problem is getting bigger. As I said, there's 15 million people at risk of this. And in our view, they're effectively ticking bombs. They're waiting. Every meal they eat, every Little League field has a kid on that field somewhere that's got an insect reaction. People with latex allergies or medicine allergies, they're at risk. And
now, how does a person find out that their child is at risk when they're born?
Well, typically it's a reaction. So they'll eat something or they'll get stung by a bee, and they'll have a reaction, and mom or dad or caregiver will call for help, and then they're referred to the allergy protocol, and the allergy process that sort of assesses and diagnoses.
So would this be better to have some sort of allergy test for babies?
Well, the device itself. The device itself could be applied sort of in an allergy treatment context. If you're in an allergist's office, you might use this device to detect instead of a scratch test. Today, if you go to an allergist and you have an allergy, they'll scratch your skin. This device, theoretically, you could probably use that in an allergy environment. I don't know that I haven't thought through the application in terms of pre-detection. Sort of, are you allergic beforehand?
Right.
It's an interesting market, though.
Yeah, that would be a decent concept.
Yeah.
Because the way you say it's doubling with no apparent cause of it. So that in itself is frightening. But it would be you'd be selling a lot of those devices. We hope if that.
That's right. We hope
you save a lot of lives that way. So it's about saving lives. The Keep Smiling for Abby Foundation.
That's right.
KeepSmilingForAbby.org. If you feel generous, if you have a bunch of extra money and you want to help out and keep a young girl's memory alive at the same time.
That's right.
So that as her, so that her passing will have will continue to have this great meaning for the future. And anything else that you
No,
want?
I think we're good. Yeah. Thank you very much, Robert.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Stephen. Appreciate it. Next week, we're not sure yet, but we think we have someone for next week. So check us out next week. We'll be posting on hopnews.com to let you know exactly who it is at some time. We appreciate Stephen Benford, Abby's dad, for coming here tonight and explaining his good work and the genesis of it. Do we have pictures to show, Eric?
Yeah.
Can you do a slideshow of them now as you exit, or does that cover up the?
It covers it up.
Covers up the closing.
Yeah. The
Well,
credits.
why don't you do the slideshow for a little while, all right? While we just while we chat.
These are some pictures of Abby from her field hockey program. So that's one of her teammates, one of the Harvey girls, I think, from town here. They did a trip to Cape Cod as a team. And it's Big Megan Kelly, I think that is, looking across the room. Same trip. There's Stephanie, a good friend. They were at the Big E. There's a little pig in her arms there that they're snorting. And there's my wife Amy, Abby's mom. That was at Relay for Life at Hopkins High School in 2013. There she is in the field hockey, watching a game with one of her teams. I think it's Brennan Lavoie, I think, in the background. And there's our dog, Oscar. He's a Labradoodle.
No, I hope you don't mind. I had Eric grab these from your website.
No, that's fine. Thank you. There's a picture of my wife and Abby at Martha's Vineyard. There's another picture at Edgartown Lighthouse. Our family, my son David on the right. I think that's the right. Yeah. And there we are on Father's Day at Fenway Park. And Abby's showing off a lost tooth. She lost her first front
She's
tooth.
like 7 years old.
Probably, yeah. A couple of field hockey teammates. There's in the background there, I see one of the Simone girls, maybe both of them. I can't see the second one on the right.
Yeah, it's tough.
And
to see.
Steph and Big Meg again. That was a memorial that we did at the Hopkins High School. Some of the folks organized a Keep Smiling Day. We did it might have been a class day. We dedicated a bench, I think. They have a memorial. There's a bench in a garden at the Hopkins High School. And we did a ceremony there. I think that's what it was.
And those wonderful.
This picture is credited to Olivia Harvey there. Olivia Harvey is a photographer. She took that great picture. She let us use that.
Oh, good.
That's it for the pictures.
Hello.